Probe. Today we're back with Drew, and today we're just going to discuss some of the training camp stuff that has happened today. Obviously, training camp for today just wrapped up. I wasn't able to make it today, but I've made it to 2 of them so far, hoping to make it to every single other one. And obviously, a lot of talking points, although my guy Nico was there today, so I was able to pick up on some things that happened and be able to relay some stuff to you, maybe that wasn't talked about necessarily on the national level, but obviously, a very exciting time, and a lot of things, I would say probably the most competitive training camp so far. They've definitely had the offense has actually made some plays, which it felt like the last couple of camps. The offense really hadn't done very much in camp. The defense had really kind of dominated. So obviously the defense has their moments throughout camp, but I'd say that the offense has made plays. I mean, even today, that they led a couple of 2-minute drill drives where they were able to go get points. I thought yesterday Stroud in limited action in 11-on-11 was really, really good. I wrote. Check out my Substack if you haven't checked that out. I did write about that yesterday. Jaden Higgins was awesome yesterday, and Jaden Higgins made some plays today as well. So we'll touch on that. But Drew, how are you feeling?
Doing good. I think, like you said, it's pretty impressive that it's been able to be kind of a well-balanced, competitive training camp, especially when we know how fearful, how dominant the Texans defense can be to literally every other team in the NFL. For the Texans offense to be able to keep up, and for them to be able to figure some things out on the offensive line, for players to develop like Jaden Higgins and Woody Marks, that's a really good thing, and that should get people really excited.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much to be excited about if you're a Texans fan right now. I mean, obviously this team is loaded, and we'll get into one of the new additions. Obviously, I know I was on here with Nico, I want to say Saturday afternoon, so Sunday was the day that Texans signed Jadeveon Clowney. So we really didn't have time to talk about Jadeveon Clowney. I haven't really gotten to really fully discuss Jadeveon Clowney signing. But Drew, obviously, I know you were a big Derek Barnett fan, so this is basically a Derek Barnett replacement. But I think we would both agree that he's probably better than Derek Barnett, even at this point as a top-tier run defender. Still a guy that can – I want to say he finished 15th in pass rush run rate or pressure rate last year. So still a really, really good edge defender. Someone that can set the edge, really can change the game in the run game, like you said, really can give Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson on early downs. You can take them off the field and have Jadeveon Clowney go play the run. And, I mean, Clowney's always been an awesome run defender. It's something that I would say he's really throughout his whole entire career, he's always been a better run defender than he is a pass rusher. And that's super valuable. I mean, especially for a third edge rusher, if you can have a guy that can go play on early downs and give maybe Danielle Hunter or one of these guys some rest opportunities, because really when you were looking at the situation before they signed Jadeveon Clowney, they didn't have a guy that could come in and go play these early downs. I mean, Dylan Horton, I've seen nothing from Dylan Horton throughout his career that is ever suggested that he's going to be a guy that you want to play real snaps, more than 15 a game probably. Dominique Robinson, I haven't really seen anything from him during camp so far. Solomon Byrd has probably been the most impressive edge rusher from this backup group, but they really don't seem to want to play him all that much. I mean, he pretty much only plays with the third teams, and he's really only done that throughout camp for, I'd say, 3 off seasons now. So I really haven't seen anything that suggests that they really think Solomon Byrd has the potential to go out there and be an edge for. So obviously they needed to address it. I think Caserio agreed when he talked about it. They were obviously always going to address this later in the offseason, whether it was Clowney or Derek Barnett or someone like that. So, Drew, what do you have to add about Clowney? What do you think about him?
Well, I think you really put it very well, because the thing is, I do believe that Derek Barnett was a very creative pass rusher. He had the body to be a run defender, but it's undoubted, no doubt in anyone's mind, in the Texans' mind, and probably Derek Barnett's mind too, that Jadeveon Clowney is the better run defender that also has a high pressure rate, like you said. But he's also now going to be able to go into the Texans' defense where opposite of him will likely just be Danielle Hunter or Will Anderson. The ways you can go about this is he will have one-on-one matchups. He will not be the full focus, and then he can, play a lot on early downs. You're really not too concerned about injuries with Jadeveon Clowney if you're putting him in a rotational role. So I think it's a really, really good fit. It's a really good get. Sounds like he's excited to just be a Texan. He wanted to be a Texan. So when you get signings like that where players want to be there because it feels like home, it feels like they can fit, it feels like they can be even more productive than they already were, that's the exact kind of signing that a championship team should be making.
Absolutely. And I think you see some of the culture stuff for the Texans and that kind of stuff show up when Players want to come play for the Texans.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, Jadeveon Clowney had more money on the table, had a better opportunity elsewhere. That's kind of what I said when I heard the interest reported about a week ago, was if Clowney's really interested in coming and being a third edge rusher and trying to win, there's not a better situation than Houston.
Yeah.
But I thought there was a chance that he would want to go play somewhere else and get more opportunity, because if he goes to Cleveland, he's immediately their second best edge rusher, and he's playing a lot. So he's not going to play as much here. I want to say Derek Barnett played, I'll pull it up, but Derek Barnett, I want to say, played 500-ish snaps, I want to say. I think that sounds right. So I don't necessarily think I think he'll be in that kind of same range, maybe a little bit more than Barnett, because he's a better run defender, but it's not going to be anything ridiculous. So not including playoffs, Derek Barnett played 350 snaps. So I was a little
I think Clowney can absolutely be doing that, and probably a little bit more. I don't know if there's a way to pull up how many snaps Barnett played on first and second down, or just first down.
I don't think there is. Actually, I could go. Hold on. I could actually pull that up as well. I think I should be able to.
But they may be looking at something different for Clowney, where he's not necessarily a third down guy, but now especially that they got they have Sheldon Rankins, they have Mario Edwards and Logan Hall. Like, you have your pass rushing 3 techs. You don't necessarily have to shove Clowney inside or anything like that.
Yeah, so, and then that's another one where, like you said, they bring back Mario Edwards, give him another opportunity. Obviously, he was a guy that I think had the injury, and so they just didn't necessarily know where he was, but he's back. And he played when I was there yesterday. So he was out there with I can't say what team he was with, but he was out there playing a pretty decent amount. So
he was there. He's playing. He's healthy now, and we know what he's capable of doing. And he did have some good moments in the run against the run in the last 2 years. It's just like you don't have to shove him in there, but. Again,
yeah, and I thought, and I mean, we'll see what happens, but you know your 4 guys on the interior of the defense, because it's pretty obvious that the 4, you get Sheldon Rankins, Tommy Togiai, Caden McDonald, and Logan Hall. After that, I do think there will be somewhat of a competition between, I want to say, Naquan Jones and Mario Edwards for that last spot, because I did think Naquan Jones showed some pretty good things late in the season for the Texans. And I think he's more of a bigger body guy. So if the Texans wanted to have another guy, because Logan Hall is just pretty much a pure pass rusher. So you kind of know what he's going to bring you. But I would say that that if you wanted the bigger body guy, you could keep Naquan. I would actually probably lean keeping Naquan off of what I saw from Edwards last season. I just didn't think Edwards brought a whole lot last year. He could have been dealing with injury and stuff. But he was very good in 2024. He was very good in that year. So if you get closer to the 2024 Mario Edwards, I do think there is a very real reason to keep him. But I do think that there is a chance that he's just not the same player he was. Exactly. And he's kind of regressed. I want to say I looked up his pass rush win rate numbers, and they've progressively gotten worse as he's. Yeah. So I just think there is a chance that even with the injury, it's not necessarily an injury thing. It's just he's just not as good anymore. And I think that I would lean Naquan right now, but that's a competition to watch for sure. And I have the Derek Barnett numbers here. So NFL Pro has him playing, I want to say, 336 total snaps. And so 310 of those were on first and second down. So he played a ton on early down. So it's kind of the same idea.
That's what they were looking to replace. Yeah.
So Clowney will probably do almost the exact same thing. Clowney will play. So, I mean, I don't know the exact percent on that. Let me find that. But he played over 90% of his snaps so 92% of his snaps were played on the first 2 downs. So I would assume Clowney is going to have almost the exact same role, like maybe a little bit more on third downs if you wanted to, line Will Anderson up over a center, kind of that kind of stuff. And, I mean, you have a lot of ways you can do things on third down now. I mean,
that's cool.
Yeah. They've done some different things, I'd say, with disguising coverages in camp and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into what they're disguising. They're going to get mad about that. But they've definitely done some things that are creative on defense. And I think that there are some options of, maybe this year we want to get more creative on defense. Because last year they really didn't do a lot on offense or defense that was all that creative. They usually seem to wait towards the postseason to get more creative because they don't have to during the regular season. They'd rather save a lot of their unique stuff for the postseason and then throw it at these teams that have never seen this stuff on tape, which is awesome if you can do that.
That's a great philosophy.
I mean, if you can do that and you're confident enough in your defense 18 weeks, then by all means do that, because
Yeah.
it confuses every team. They've dominated in the postseason against good offenses. I mean, these, like the Chargers last year, the Patriots got dominated in offense. I know they didn't win that game, but they got absolutely dominated. Kansas City got dominated in that divisional game last year. That was a domination on defense, and it just the special teams kind of screwed them. But they've had a lot of opportunities defensively that they've just gone out and been really awesome in the postseason, because they can throw these things that teams have never seen on tape at these offenses, and even good offenses. Like you said, I mean, Pittsburgh's a kind of a weird example because Pittsburgh wasn't a good offense.
Yeah.
So they didn't really even have to throw much at Pittsburgh to confuse them. I mean, it was just obviously going to be a domination for the defense, but there's been good offenses that have been dominated by this defense because of that.
Yeah, I agree. That's what they probably should also continue to do. But like in terms of, I don't know, we want to say improving your record, trying to seriously win so many games to where you have, home field advantage. I mean, that's definitely the goal. I guarantee you that's the goal in their mind. Getting home field advantage, literally winning 13 to 14 games so that you are not going on the road in a divisional round playoff game. I think that's probably the number one thing they want to do, because they have never, ever, ever hosted a divisional round home game. And so they probably think that would change things. And so by all means do that, because at the same time, it's like you said, they don't have to do much. So by all means, don't do much, but all means, like, trust your defense and do a lot and just absolutely dominate. Know that your players are better than the other players on the other side of the field, and give them everything.
Yeah. And kind of leading into that, like we talked about, obviously this is on paper probably the best defense the Texans have had. I think on paper you look at it, and I'm not saying they're going to perform as well as they did last year, because it's really hard to replicate.
Statistically, that's really hard
year to year. It's so hard to do that. I think people underrate how hard that is. I think I said this a month ago. Is like, if they're not the best defense in the league, that's not a failure. Or even if they're, my expectation for them to be top 5. Like if they're a top 5 defense again, good, awesome, right?
Exactly.
Like on paper, I think they are the best defense in the NFL, but you just never know. Injuries can happen, or teams can just have good games against you. Like it just happens. Like you can't. It's really hard to be consistently amazing, especially on defense. I think it's easier on offense to be good, really good year in and year out, because you have the personnel, that kind of stuff. Defense is more. I'd say there's more just variance there. Like. There's more things that could just go wrong, right? Like a guy could bat a ball and it lands in a guy's hands, and it's like, well, that sucks. We just get unlucky, right? Like that's good. And I'm not saying the Texans didn't get unlucky last year at times, because they absolutely did. But they were healthy on defense last year. That was a big difference. Will Anderson didn't have any injuries. Stingley played every game, although he was dealing with injuries, but he played every game. Kamari Lassiter played almost every game. Aziz, I think, missed one game all year. Like Kalen Bullock, I think, was healthy every game. They just had no injuries on defense, or very, very few. They had a couple, obviously, but really outside of the defensive tackle depth, that was all that they lost last year on defense, and I guess safety. The injury to MJ Stewart kind of sucked. That was the one. He was playing pretty well, but then Jalen Reed stepped in, and then Jalen Reed got hurt. So I guess Jalen Smith was another one too. We could throw that out there. He was a pretty decently big injury, I think, as your third cornerback, who's also had a good camp. We'll talk about him a little bit, I'm sure. But yeah, and on paper, this is the best defense they've had, and the offense has actually made plays in training camp. I think that's something that I know people have kind of talked about. CJ Stroud's had a really good camp. I mean, there's been very quick decisions, very decisive decisions. His accuracy has been very good. There hasn't been a single throw from when I've been at camp that I've thought, oh, well, that was just a really bad miss. There hasn't been any throw like that.
Right.
And that's kind of what I want to see. And I think at times Stroud's accuracy has been disappointing. I really for a guy that was hyped up as this, oh, he's going to be super accurate, he's going to ball placement specialist, he hasn't lived up to it necessarily. And I think he's made his living in other ways, but his accuracy has been pretty disappointing. Numbers-wise, he's been one of the least accurate quarterbacks his entire career. So I think there are absolutely things that he can do to improve that, and I just haven't seen anything from this training camp that suggests that he hasn't improved his accuracy, because he's been very accurate, and I think targeting the middle of the field, targeting the outside. I want to say yesterday, there was 2 balls that hit the ground throughout all of 1-on-1, throughout 7-on-7, throughout 11-on-11, and it was 2 1-on-1s. One of them was a throwaway because Lewis Bond got locked down by Jalen Petrie. The other one was a miscommunication between him and Jaden Higgins. That was it. Those were the only two that hit the ground. He was 3 for 3 in both 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. And I want to say all the other one-on-ones were, I mean, one-on-ones are kind of, I don't really value them too much, but he was accurate in them. So there you go. And today it sounded like he had a pretty good day. Obviously I think there was one series, they had 4 series. So there was one series they kind of struggled, but every other series they were able to move the ball a little bit. And Nico just kind of posted some takeaways. So we'll get into that. But how do you feel about the offense in general? I mean, obviously I know you haven't been out to camp yet, but Stroud's look good. And how do you kind of feel about them? Obviously, the run game is something a focus. Keelan Rutledge has been very involved at center, and I can say that he's played center the last couple of days. So I can say that. I'm not saying what team he's played for, but he's been at center. And I will say that there's a competition at right tackle. So I think the 4 spots are pretty much locked down on the offensive line, and then right tackle will be interesting. But how do you kind of feel about that unit? Obviously, last year it felt like they improved as the season went along by a long shot. They definitely got a lot better. But I do think that there is a chance that this offense could take another step. I mean, I think David Montgomery was a big addition. The receiver room is going to be better, I would assume, with hopefully whatever you get from Tank Dell, Jalen Nolan year 2. I think Hutchinson's continuously improved. He's had a pretty good camp as well. And we'll get to Lewis Bond, who's been a guy that I know people have been very excited about. And D'Amico Ryan shouted out at his presser today. So how are you feeling about the offense?
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I think that because there's a multitude of things that you might see more of. I wouldn't say that Nick Caley runs the most creative offense, but we know that he's capable of doing that. I mean, some more so last year wasn't super duper creative, anything mind-blowing, but we know that he's absolutely capable and they can tap into that. So you have creativity that could be a little bit more visual this next season. And then in terms of Stroud, you just want to see more situational accuracy. And that means on third down, is he pinpointing passes? Or is he hitting passes on second down that help the team get more yardage to where they can do whatever they want on third down? Things like that. Hitting open targets, leading guys into space, just so they can get a little bit more yardage. And then I'm really excited about the run game because I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work. You got David Montgomery and Woody Marks. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work carries-wise or whatever, but I just know these are 2 really good running backs. They're excellent dynamic between the tackle runners, and also the Texans' offensive line is loaded with guys that are really good at run blocking. Braden Smith, Trent Brown, Ingram, and Rutledge is absolutely going to be able to run block no matter what position he plays. He'd be a great run blocker at right tackle, right guard, center, left guard, and I guess left tackle too, but that would never happen. But still, he would be a great run blocker no matter where he plays. And then we always have talked about this before. We talked about it in the Slowick era. Pass protection is really about communication. It's not that difficult. If you scheme guys open and you protect and you have at least 2+ seconds to throw, things are going to work out. And you also have a quarterback that's mobile. So this would be – I mean, I look at rosters of other teams sometimes and whatever and think about things. But to me, the Texans' offense is a high upside offense where they can do a variety of things because of what they have at the skill position players. And then they have capable starters with plus abilities in the run game.
Yeah, I mean – there's been a lot of good from the offense in camp, and obviously I don't think that you go into camp and say, okay, they won this day. I think the defense is usually better. Like, the defense usually makes more plays, but it's hard to expect the offense to go out there and dominate this defense. There's very few offenses that do that. I mean, you go look at Buffalo and how they've played against this offense, and really the only offense that I'd say has given the Texans defense trouble is Baltimore. So unless you're Lamar Jackson or you have Lamar Jackson, you're probably going to struggle against this defense. I think that's about what I would say for that. But we can kind of get into some highlight players. We'll start with the offensive guys because there has been a decent amount of guys on offense that I think have played well. And like I said, so we can start with Lewis Bond. Bond was someone that D'Amico Ryan shouted out today at his presser, and I think he said he's made plays pretty much every day. He's one of the camp risers. So for D'Amico Ryan to say that a guy's a camp riser, that's usually a pretty good sign for him. And I would say that usually if it's a guy they don't plan on keeping on roster, they don't talk about him very much because they want to get him on practice squad. So I think the plan is to keep Lewis Bond.
Yeah, the thing I would say about Lewis Bond is that he has a different skill set than pretty much any receiver that I can really think of because he doesn't really have any long speed. But the first 5 to 10 yards is he's all in control. He can do whatever he wants. He can separate, he can quickly snap off, and he can run option routes. And I think that that's just something that they're just going to want to have. Because even I know that Higgins and Collins and Noel and Tank Dell are talented. But sometimes just having a savvy third down guy could be really nice. And you would absolutely trust him. You wouldn't think of this guy as a lesser player. You would put him on the field and he would run routes where he would totally get you. And if he's making plays in camp, I don't know what players he's doing it against. It doesn't matter. We know what he's capable of. And so the fact that he's already impressing tells me that he can be also utilized in this offense too.
Yeah, so I can tell you yesterday he beat Elijah Huzzy down the field for a touchdown.
Which that you wouldn't actually expect.
In one-on-one. So he did that. And then today he beat Petrie down the field for another touchdown in one-on-one. So, and I like I said, I wasn't there, so I don't have the full read. But I know Nico told me that he had multiple good one-on-one reps against. I don't know who, but
and he's a one-on-one specialist for sure.
So I would assume Huzzy's probably involved there as well. Again, like, they're getting nickel versus nickel matchup, that kind of stuff. So definitely a guy to watch. He's made plays. I'd say that the guy, like you said, I know people have kind of been talking about this veteran slot type role where you get this guy that's a little savvy, can kind of understands, like you said, the sticks, that kind of thing. Because that's part of the reason why Higgins and Knoll didn't play as much to begin last season and still necessarily are kind of competing for roles. They just some of the route depth stuff, this kind of stuff, they just struggle with. And that's okay. Like it takes time, but even in camp, like the only incompletion that I saw to Jaden Higgins yesterday was an incompletion where Jaden Higgins just ran the depth of the route too far. He runs a curl and he comes back 3 yards on the curl, instead of just sitting down, and he had separation. So Stroud throws it to where he should have been, and the ball just sails.
There you go.
So it's tough. And I will I give Stroud and Higgins credit on it, because usually that's absolutely been a focus for them, like getting on the same page, because they've struggled with that at times. And you can tell that when Stroud made that decision and he immediately ran over to Higgins and they had the conversation, and Stroud was very, tapped him on the helmet a couple of times, very complimentary of Higgins. And they've gotten on the same page pretty much consistently now, which is awesome. I mean, Higgins is very talented. We've talked about this. We really like Jaden Higgins. He's very, very talented. And he was good last year. I thought he was very, very good. But I think that there are things he can improve on the technical side. Like you said, the route depth, that kind of stuff. And that's where Lewis Bond comes into play as a guy that really would probably be your Christian Kirk replacement, if we wanted to tell the truth. That's kind of what the role that you would see from him a little bit, because Noel is more of your guy that he's going to play from the slot, but you want him to be explosive. You want him to make explosive plays. And Christian Kirk, obviously in the Pittsburgh game, did that. But really, outside of the Pittsburgh game last year, I couldn't name you an explosive play from Christian Kirk. He worked underneath. He blocked well. That was kind of what he did. So him, Lewis Bond, and Justin Watson are probably the two guys that you would say would probably fill that kind of role on the offense. And maybe they keep both. I just don't see Justin Watson getting cut. I know people want him cut. I don't think he's getting cut. And we can kind of maybe we could get into some roster talk later. But I really just don't think he gets cut. I think he's too good of a special teamer, and they like what he does in the vet as a savvy slot guy. I think he does a nice job knowing coverages, that kind of stuff. Really does a lot of the same stuff that you kind of would see from Dalton Schultz, where we're sitting in zones, we're giving easy options against a blitz, that kind of stuff, where Schultz is really good at that. And that's why you've seen Stroud and Schultz. Really, when Mills comes into the game, Schultz targets decreased by a lot. He doesn't get targeted as much, but Stroud really trusts him. And so if you could get the same kind of thing from Lewis Bond or Justin Watson, ideally Lewis Bond, obviously, but you could get the same kind of thing from one of those guys, they're going to play. They're going to play. Yeah,
I agree.
And you really don't know what you're going to get from Tank Dell. I mean, is there a chance he starts on a PUP or doesn't, or IR, or you don't know? I mean, I don't know what to expect from Tank Dell at this point. I don't really know. And I think Xavier Hutchinson kind of falls into that same group. I think Hutchinson is a guy that I think he's very savvy as a route runner. And I got to give Hutchinson a lot of credit because he's improved just progressively. Yeah. He's gotten a lot better from the beginning. And I mean, he really, like, last year was the best version. I think he looks better this year. So I give Hutchinson a lot of credit. I think he's going to be a guy that is someone that'll play a big role. I mean, I think as a fourth or fifth receiver, he's ideal. I think that's where you want him. He's a very good blocker in the run game, which is valuable for this team. And he can get slot reps. He can get outside reps. He can do everything. So he's a valuable player, obviously, for this team. And I know you wanted. We were kind of talking about this before. I'll let you talk about Colin Wright. But D'Amico Ryans also shouted out Colin Wright today at the presser. Said that he's made a lot of plays. He's made a play every day, I want to say, is what he said. He had a pick yesterday off of Graham Mertz in 7-on-7, which was a great play, by the way. It wasn't like a pick where it was right at him. He undercut a dig type route from Josh Kelly and just jumped it, made a diving play. It was a really, really good play from Colin Wright. But he's a guy that's very noticeable. He was a guy that I was surprised wasn't drafted personally. I thought he was going to get drafted, and he didn't get drafted. And so he's a guy that absolutely has a shot at being the CB4 on this team. I mean, Tremon Smith, great special teamer, not a very good corner. We kind of know this. So if Colin Wright can do some things on special teams, he absolutely has a shot. But I'll let you kind of get into Colin Wright because I know that's a UDFA guy. That's kind of your ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's just like a really aggressive, longer, but not extremely tall guy that can, like you said, he cuts off routes. He's very fluid, and he does spring underneath the routes very often. And so I thought he would get drafted as well. I don't actually know. It's kind of a little weird. I was looking to see if there was any injuries. I don't think there are any injuries. Maybe the long speed isn't necessarily great, but if you're going to play cover 3 and cover 4, he's got the arm length, he's got the ball skills, and he's got the reactive athleticism. And so I think that's a great fit. And like you said, we actually got really lucky in terms of not having any injuries last year. Not saying I want anyone to ever get injured, but
Absolutely.
If it does happen, I think Colin Wright would be just fine. It'd be pretty cool to see him play in this Texans defense. It's a perfect fit.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this is pretty easily, I'd say, the best DB depth the Texans have had since D'Amico's been here because you have Jalen Smith, who's healthy. Oh, by the way, great camp. Like, Jalen Smith doesn't get targeted.
He's awesome.
In the second team. Jalen Smith does not get targeted. And when he plays with Davis Mills, that kind of thing. I said second team. But I'm sorry, Texas PR. But obviously, Jalen Smith isn't starting. We all know Jalen Smith is not starting, okay? This is not anything new. But when like Davis Mills does not throw at Jalen Smith very often. It just doesn't happen. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Like, it's not like Jalen Smith makes like highlight plays very often. He had a PBU yesterday, I want to say. I think it was targeting Brevin, I want to say. But he made a nice play. It wasn't anything like too crazy, but they just don't throw at him very often. He doesn't like for a corner, a quiet day, especially in camp, is a good thing. So, yeah. I mean, Jalen Smith is good. Like, he's a good player. I don't have any real doubts about him. I think he's a very good corner 3. I mean, there's not a lot of good third cornerbacks. Cornerback's a hard position to get 2 good corners. So if you have a good third corner, you're looking pretty sharp in that department. Obviously, if Colin Wright or someone can take over that fourth corner spot, that'd be awesome for the depth. But you go to safety and you have Kamari Ramsey, who's had a pretty good camp, who USC draft pick, obviously 5th rounder this year. Jalen Reed, another guy. Jalen Reed was good as a rookie, and Jalen Reed looks the part. I mean, he looks like he's better this offseason, so I like Jalen Reed as a player. Jamarcus Ingram's had a pretty good camp. He's been at safety for the most part. I feel like nobody's talked about this, which maybe I'm just too deep in to training camp stuff when I'm talking about but Jamarcus Ingram is practicing at safety. So I don't know. Like, I've seen people talk about him as a 4th corner. I don't think he's a corner anymore with this team. So just kind of throwing that out there. Elijah Huzzy at nickel is easily the best backup nickel they've had. I mean, I don't think it's close. Their backup nickel options they had Jeff Okudah playing nickel 2 years ago. I mean, it was rough. Yeah. So really, when Petrie went down, they just didn't have a great option. I think Jalen Reed was fine at nickel, but I think he's better at safety. So if you can play him as kind of a box safety type role, I think that's ideal. But if Petrie does go down, I think Huzzy is more than capable of filling in that role.
For sure. And Kamari Ramsey as well. Mm-hmm. I think that they actually really take advantage of players that just their stock kind of falls a bit. So they're taking undrafted players that they absolutely had a grade on. They're taking Kamari Ramsey, who is just as athletic as MJ Stewart and has a little more upside to him, and he's younger, and they do such a good job of adding depth that honestly, we're going to get to the point where in 4 years, you're going to see these guys in Elijah Huzzy's going to be a starting nickel, and he's going to be getting paid like $8 million somewhere and stuff like. It's going to be cool to see. Like, good for them. That's exciting. These are
Yeah.
just good players that I hope get attention at some point. They don't need to be backups on the Texans, but it's cool that they are.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
I guess again, that's what we talk about with Clowney, where you have the defensive environment of like you go to the Texans, especially as a DB, you're gonna get developed. Like you're gonna get a lot better. They're so great when it comes to DB evaluations. I mean, it's ridiculous how many good players they've turned out the last couple of years, and I think there's going to be more. Like I said, I think Kamari Ramsey's going to be pretty solid. I think Huzzy's good. I think Jalen Smith is good. Like I think there's a lot of guys.
I don't know what's going to happen with Jalen Smith, but I feel like he's just a little too talented to be a forever.
Yeah, I guess we'll see because we'll see if they end up paying Kamari Lassiter after this year. So there is a potential role there. Question. So, but like you said, I really like Elijah Huzzy a lot. I like all these kind of depth DBs, and I think it was Landry Locker that said that he basically compared Huzzy to a supercharged Miles Bryant, which is actually which compared to like relative to what they've had at these positions, I think that's pretty correct. Actually, very good special teamer. So, and they like Miles Bryant. They played Miles Bryant a decent amount. So, and Miles Bryant was decent for them. He wasn't great, but he was all right. Yeah. So, Huzzy probably can fill kind of that role. And then I think Kamari Ramsey just fills the MJ Stewart role. I think he does what MJ Stewart does. So, they've done a really nice job kind of filling in those positions. And then let's see who else we want to talk about. Obviously, we can talk about C.J. Stroud and Jaden Higgins. They've been standouts in camp. Dalton Schultz has had a very good camp as well. The tight ends actually have been pretty good in camp. They've stood out. I think Foster Moreau made a catch today in a 2-minute drill. Marlon Klein, I will tell you, has had 7 opportunities to make plays, and it's either been overthrown or he drops it. It is laughable how many times he's been wide open, and it either is there was one. Was it yesterday? No, I don't think it was yesterday. It was Saturday. So Graham Mertz is at quarterback. Klein is open up the seam. Really good throw from Graham Mertz. He hauls it in, and then Jamarcus Ingram hits him perfectly, and the ball falls out.
Ooh.
So it was a really awesome play. And then yesterday, I didn't see how he got open, but Marlon Klein is just standing wide open in the middle of the field, and the ball is 4 feet over his head.
Oh, no.
So I will say it's nice to see him getting open. Yeah. But it just hasn't connected yet. And maybe it's because he's throwing with Graham Mertz, which Graham Mertz is terrible. If y'all were wondering about the third quarterback, he's awful. He sucks. He's pretty bad. But, Marlon Klein has made some plays. Caden McDonald had a tackle for loss today, according to my guy Nico. Nico also highlighted. We can pull up Nico's post, actually, from his highlights today. And I will say, because I did text him about Stroud because I was curious. He said that – so we both agreed that Stroud was pretty good on Saturday when we were there and we watched together. He said that he thought Stroud was better today and that his decision-making and accuracy were great.
Great. Okay.
So I'm going to pull this one up. Share screen. Okay. So this was his biggest observations of the day. C.J. Stroud executed a phenomenal 2-minute drive, had one especially impressive touch throw down the seam between multiple defenders that Josh Kelly couldn't haul in. Rough day for the run game, got stuffed, and all about outside of one outside handoff to Woody Marks that we went for 10+. Jadeveon Clowney's way too good for second team. We kind of knew this.
Yeah.
And was dominating Blake Fisher and then got some snaps inside on first team later. That's pretty interesting to see. Lewis Bond looks like a serious sleeper, gets open a lot, makes a bunch of catches. We did talk about Lewis Bond, so
it's
nothing too surprising there.
Bond gets a lot of love, so that
you
said.
And then I will pull up what he texted me or anything that he texted me that wasn't posted there. So he did say, I know he said that Bond made a couple catches later in practice or in 11-on-11 as well. Caden McDonald had a tackle for loss. And then, so that was pretty much it because I can't necessarily talk about the first offensive line group. So I can't. I did hear about it, but I can't share that, I guess. But Definitely a good day. I mean, CJ Stroud's had a really good camp. There's nothing else I can really say. Like, I mean, being there and hearing just from other people, it's been a good camp for CJ Stroud.
Good.
And that's really good to hear. There's been a lot of composure under pressure. There was a play yesterday, and I posted the video. We can watch the video. I think I should pull it up. Because, hey, Texans, I didn't post it. Y'all posted it. Y'all can't get mad at me for this one. Because they have I don't know if you heard about the new policy. They have a policy now. That. Yeah. We got to protect the team, man.
Protect the team, but then you have random people on Twitter that will just say Keelan Rutledge was the first team center today. So I don't know. I mean,
I think I don't know if they've cut down on that one, but
yeah, how is that going to stop?
But this throw was really impressive. So it cuts out the part of him avoiding a sack, but it's kind of hard to tell from the video. But he steps up, kind of off balance here, and you just rip the ball. You can see Reed Blankenship right there. So I mean, it wasn't bad coverage. It was exactly where you'd want this throw.
Look at the hand, yeah. Hand comes in right there.
So this was an awesome throw. This was a 3rd and 10 type situation as well. So it wasn't like they did a lot of situational 3rd down stuff yesterday. So and Jaden Higgins had 2 first downs. I want to say this was another one. Yeah. So this was the first play from. Oh, and by the way, you can so see the offensive line grouping here if you wanted to guess what it was from the day. But yeah, Jaden Higgins on a back shoulder. Jaden Higgins actually had 2 wins versus Stingley in 1-on-1. He had this one in 11-on-11, and then he had 1 in 1-on-1s. This one was – they were both deep balls too, because one of them was a touchdown in 11-on-11, and that one was kind of a back shoulder 20-yard type play. So Jaden Higgins had a really good day yesterday. Jaden Higgins made some plays today. And they've both been really good. They've gotten on the same page. Nico Collins has taken back-to-back rest days in camp. Hasn't been out there, which I'm totally fine with. I don't really care about Nico Collins being out there in camp.
Yeah, for real.
Just keep the guy on the field. Just keep the guy on the field. That's all I care about. So give these other guys some reps, like I said. That's kind of why I will say it's important to and that's why kind of tracking training camp stats is kind of pointless for a lot of times, because you see today Nico kind of pointed out the Josh Kelly throw. If he ever is throwing to Josh Kelly, we're going to have some problems. So that's kind of – and they've rotated a lot at receiver. So I wouldn't look too much into it, but CJ Stroud's been awesome. I mean, he's been as good as you could expect. It's been his best camp since he's been a Texan. I've been to enough training camp practices over the years. I've been to really, I'd say more than half of them since he's been a Texan, and it's easily been his best camp. I mean, I don't think there was one that was all that close. He's never been someone that has stood out to me in practice. Like, he's never made a ton of throws in practice that were like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Even his rookie year, it wasn't like he looked great in camp. He was solid, but it just this camp, he's really not made many mistakes. I want to say since pads have come on, so that's 3 days, he's had the 1 interception to Kalen Bullock, which they're gonna happen. Kalen Bullock is awesome. So, it happens, unfortunately, but he's been very decisive with the ball. He's done a nice job avoiding pressure, just making quick decisions, that kind of stuff. And the ball placement's been perfect. Like I said, he's been very, very good with that, which is awesome to see. So a lot to be excited about there. I mean, if CJ Stroud can be good, I think we all would assume the Texans will be very, very good if CJ Stroud plays well. I think the team will probably be – you're looking at 13 probably wins if he plays as well as he can play, which I mean – CJ Stroud, when he's good, is good. Like that, we know that. When CJ Stroud is playing at his best, he's very, very good. He just is very. He's got too many. He's too high and low right now. You got to find a middle ground somewhere. Obviously, you're going to have struggles, but his struggles are really bad right now, which is you got to kind of even that out a little bit. But it feels like he's more comfortable with Nick Caley. It feels like the receivers are playing better than they did last year. It feels like the offensive line has improved. So a lot to be excited about on offense. And the fact that they're being competitive with this defense is a good enough sign in itself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's pretty much the biggest takeaway from the camp so far. And I think, unfortunately, when we hear about CJ Stroud being amazing in camp, we just want to see it on the field. Like, we want to see those rookie year type of numbers, performances, spectacular plays. But it sounds like this will translate a little bit more just based off of what you're seeing. So it's very positive.
Yeah, I mean, there's been mostly good, I'd say. I really just haven't seen anything bad. I think the most bad thing that I've seen that you could say was I think there's been some like coverage sack taking. But really, in reality, in training camp, you're probably going to take some coverage sacks. Like, you're not really trying to throw the ball away a ton unless, like, it depends on the situation, I guess. But especially when they're doing a lot of third down work, like, are you really going to throw the ball away on a 3rd and 10? Like, it doesn't really matter. So that kind of situation is something I would point out. And then I know we're pretty much done highlighting guys. I think we kind of hit most of the good moments from some underrated guys. We could do a little 53-man roster type thing if we wanted to do that. Get that and then kind of wrap that up because I do actually have the entire roster in a Google Drive. I've been doing that this offseason, so we can kind of cut it down. Let me go ahead and who was the guy that we signed today? We signed a new receiver. I forget what his name was. I'm gonna add him to the roster. Okay, Montrell Washington. Okay, so he's added to the roster now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep this one, but I think I can just duplicate it to Google Drive, can't I? Make a copy. Perfect. Okay, and then I will share my screen for y'all. Okay, perfect. So here we go. I got the 53-man roster pulled up. Oh, we got a chat. Let's see who's in here. Clowney was getting after it. I know my guy Forrest was. I'm assuming he was there today. Yeah, I mean Clowney's too good to be blocked by Blake Fisher, and I don't hate Blake Fisher, but this is kind of the thing that we've talked about with Clowney, and I think the sack numbers for Clowney are a little misleading. I want to say 6 of his 8.5 sacks were against Josh Connerly and James Hudson. He didn't have crazy sack numbers last year. 8.5 is a little it doesn't necessarily represent how he played last year, but when we play bad tackles, Jadeveon Clowney can absolutely go beat up on these tackles. On rundowns, he can go and make. He's a very good edge setter, which we know. So there's a very good chance that Clowney's able to do that, especially in the run game. But I just don't necessarily expect him to go beat if week 1 you're going to play Deion Dawkins. He's probably not going to go get 2 sacks on Deion Dawkins. That's not going to happen. But he absolutely can do some nice things in the run game, especially. Thoughts on Will Anderson Jr. making the defense run suicides because the offense did decent? I did see that. Man, that defense has high standard, which is good, obviously. Yeah. You want them to, but they definitely have very high standards. So I'm going to pull up the 53-man, and we can kind of go through some of the predictions because it's definitely changed since I did my first one. Some of the guys that I would expect on the roster. So how does that look, Drew? Does it look good? Yeah. Okay. So I think starting at quarterback, I think Graham Mertz gets cut. Yeah. I think he gets cut. I don't necessarily think that they're going to keep 3 again. I just don't think he's good enough to justify keeping a 3rd guy. And then we can kind of get rid of some of these guys at the receiver room. These guys are not making the roster. We kind of know that. Yeah. I'd say the real debate is, I'll probably just, I know he's on IR/PUP now. Don't think they're going to keep him there. So I'll go ahead and get rid of him too. But I guess they're going to keep 7. I think that's my guess right now is that they do try to keep 7 receivers. Yeah, that's because I just don't think they're cutting Justin Watson, but it feels like Bond has been too good to cut. And then running back, I think this is pretty obvious. I think they're going with these 4 guys. Yeah. I just don't think Whittington or Pitsenberger's done enough to take over Jawar's spot there. I think Jawar has proven enough to stay on the roster. And then at tight end, Lane Pryor's obviously not making it, but there is some competition here for sure. I think one of Brevin or Stover's probably gone, but I think one of them probably stays, if I had to guess. I think they'll go 4 tight ends. Absolutely, we'll go 4 tight ends because you always see them having to sign someone throughout the season because of injuries. So these are probably, I guess these are 5 guys that have been in the system. Now, they probably don't necessarily love how Stover has played. And they probably don't necessarily love that Brevin Jordan has had consistent injuries. So that's a tough decision. I would literally have to be the tight end coach to decide that. I have literally no idea how Brevin Jordan. And you have a rookie there. So that is first time tight end coach, James Furtz. And then obviously Nick Haley probably has input on that as well from being a tight end
Correct.
guy.
That would be really tough because I personally don't love what Stover has done on the field. I think he's limited as a player too. But if you're going to carve something out of him, do that. But if you want to take the upside.
And I had something that I noticed from Stover. I'm not a huge Stover fan. Like you said, I don't think he's been very good for the Texans. But I will say, and I do think this matters for them, Stover had a really awesome moment in special teams yesterday.
Okay,
where he was working as a jammer against Henry To'oTo'o, who was the gunner at this point. And they get to where the bag is, where you're supposed to, tap the bag, obviously try to bring it down. He stonewalled Henry To'oTo'o. It was a good 5 seconds of To'oTo'o trying to get through, and he didn't get close. Frank Ross was thrilled. I have never seen Frank Ross that excited at a training camp. And he's been excited a couple of times. He was pumped.
That might be the exact reason that he makes the roster.
Yeah. Right and there. I do think that he maybe brings you some fullback versatility, which they've talked about a little bit. So it's tough. I'll keep it at 5 for right now. We can probably come back to this position, but it's going to be a tough decision to make. And then at offensive line, I think there's some competition here between Andrews and Brown because – look, I'm not going to say where Rutledge has been playing, but he's playing center, and I think he's going to be the starter. So
I think that's a very logical prediction to make. There, no one should have any issues with that.
And so you kind of know. I would say the first probably 7 guys because I think obviously Wee Woo's a lock, and these 6 guys are a lock. So I think Fisher makes it as the backup left tackle.
Yeah,
probably. And I think they'll keep one of these 2. I still think it's Jake Andrews. I still think Jake Andrews is the guy there. I know the idea of, he can't play guard is something that people have brought up. Actually, I don't know how to spell Wee Woo's name. I'm going to bring it back. Here, well, it's not even going to let me. There we go. But I think Andrews makes it as the backup center, and then if there was an injury to a guard, you can push Rutledge to guard and put Andrews at center. Yeah. That's what I think they would do. Or if they trust Wee Woo, just play Wee Woo at guard. That would be what I would think would happen. I just think Andrews they trust enough at center to where, because it's not out of the question that Keelan Rutledge had issues at center as a rookie. Like that's not out of the question. It's absolutely possible he struggles snapping the football, that kind of thing. So I do think there's a very real possibility that you may just want to push Rutledge to guard. Or if Teller or Ingram gets hurt, Rutledge might end up being the left or right guard. So at that point, do you trust Andrews more than Evan Brown to play center? I would say yes.
Probably I almost want to say he's a lock just because of scheme familiarity.
Yeah, I think he makes it. And then, so we'll move on to D end. Obviously, first 3 are locks. But I do think they'll keep one of these 3 guys. That's my prediction. I think they keep one of these guys. I don't think they'll keep a fifth edge this year. I think they have enough of the top 3 to not keep one of these guys. Maybe Bird ends up on practice squad. Or
exactly.
Dominic Bailey's played some edge too, I actually really like Dominic Bailey. He's made some plays.
Yeah.
So he's a guy to keep an eye on. Don't think he makes the roster, but as a guy as a practice squatter. So I would lean Dylan Horton because they seem to trust Dylan Horton. But I just haven't seen anything from Dylan Horton. I don't necessarily know if it's just a trust thing and he's consistently he's a decent run defender. So they put him on the field on early downs and he's okay. But I don't know. I think Solomon Byrd has been the best one. I just don't think if it was my prediction or if it was what I would do, I would keep Solomon Byrd. But I don't think they're going to keep Solomon Byrd.
Yeah.
I think
at some point you have to remember, not remember per se, but Solomon Byrd and Dylan Horton have now both been on the team for a little bit of time. And does it get to the point where it's we don't not trust Solomon Byrd? Do we just cut ties with Horton? Or is this the year Horton goes on the practice squad and Byrd goes and just makes the roster because he's shown enough and he knows how to play here and he's been a part of that locker room. And so that is a really tough one. Like I said, I would have to be the defensive line coach and I would have to personally know the players to make that decision.
Yeah, I think it's tough. As of default, I'd say Dylan Horton, just because it's what they've done the last couple years in the same kind of situation. Yeah. Like last year, they had Casey Toohill, who was kind of your Dominique Robinson, like a guy like that. And and Darrell Taylor was another one that they brought in. So I just think just a trust factor. Dylan Horton's probably the guy. But again, I feel I'm gonna mark the ones that I'm least confident about. We'll put it in orange. The guys that I'm not very confident about, because I do think there's going to be movement at some of these spots. Obviously, it's very early in camp, and whoever the other tight end is going to get orange too, because that's a weird position as well. And then D tackle, I think obviously we kind of talked about the top 4. This is a competition. I think I would say I think they're probably going to go Mario Edwards.
Okay, me too. I think they're really just kind of waiting that one out.
And I like Naquan Jones, but I do think Naquan Jones is someone that you probably can keep practice squad around and keep him around, who I do like. But I just think Edwards came in and immediately played like pretty meaningful reps in camp. So I do think that means something. Like, they clearly like him. And I do think he brings you some edge flexibility, which is nice. So does Logan Hall. So if there was an injury or someone like that, you could play those guys at edge, which is nice.
For sure.
So I think they'll keep Mario Edwards there.
I agree.
And then going to linebacker, this is a very weird position.
So how many did they have last year? That would be
I want to say, I'll pull up to 53.
I feel like they had 6.
That sounds right. But I will.
Which means I'm already thinking.
So EJ Speed is not going to be ready for week 1.
Yeah, so I'm saying if it's 6, it's easily Woodaz and Taki because special teams.
Yeah, so they kept 6 last year, and then they've kept 6 both the last 2 years.
And I'm assuming Hansen could be flexed out to the IR at some point.
Yeah, he's week to week, so I don't necessarily know what that means.
I don't know what that means either, but I feel like they would like I feel like they like Taki enough, whatever you want to call him. I think they probably like him enough, and then they know they can put Hansen on injury. And they definitely would.
I do think it's interesting because I think for sure there's 5 guys that are getting kept.
Yeah.
Because these top 5 are 100% staying.
Yeah.
And then the 6th guy is tough because, like you said, Taki, if he plays well, I haven't seen anything from him from the days I've been there to really say that they would keep him. That's think fair. If it was up to them, and Hansen's healthy, I think it'd be Hansen.
They just play just go heavy in Hansen. Because, I mean, that is a very late signing, but he is an NFL veteran that has racked up tackles and played special teams. So that's just kind of a gut feeling. But, if Hansen's
and
ready.
Then they like Jake Hummel as a special temer, but I'm not going to lie. I've seen Jake Hummel play. I'm not very impressed. He looks pretty slow. He doesn't look very he really doesn't even look good in the special teams drill. So I don't really know what he does necessarily. But Aiden Fisher's made some plays as well. So if you wanted to keep your draft pick, I do think Aiden Fisher could be the 6th guy as well. I don't think Taki makes the team as of right now. I haven't seen enough for him to come in and say, I think he was just a guy to bring in an extra body
absolutely
for the injury.
Yeah.
So I would say if we're gonna put Hansen on PUP, which I'll do that. I think Fisher is the guy that keep.
That's totally fine too. I just think they have a tendency to put their 6th to 7th round picks on practice squad, and they never seem to lose them. Like because I think they get to choose like what practice squad they want to sign to, I believe. Yeah,
they do. Yeah.
So they will, and most of the time, these guys tend to choose to stay.
You're right. I do agree with that.
I know, like Ali Gay went to the Titans one time or something like that. That's
and now he's back.
Yeah, no, he's back. That's different situations. But I think Aiden Fisher would damn well stay. They have that because those conversations do happen about we want you to be on practice squad and do a lot for us on practice squad. Yada yada yada. And they can also say we're going to bring you up and you will dress. You might even be on the active roster, and those things happen. And so that's why I think they'll probably just check on the Hansen injury, flex Fisher out to practice squad if needed. But if he really is week to week, I mean. We're not that close.
I will say, I think at linebacker, they've been a little bit more flexible with adding these kind of later picks and that kind of stuff because Jamal Hill's made the team, and Jamal Hill was not very good as a rookie, if we want to tell the truth. Jake Hansen's been on the team for 3 years, and he was an undrafted guy who really is only a special teamer. So I just think with Aiden Fisher, he's made enough plays in camp to where they'll try to keep him around. But if Hansen's not ready to go, or if Hansen is ready to go, I think he makes it over Fisher.
Yeah,
That's my take.
no doubt.
So I'm going to label this as 6 because of the injury. I'm not going to.
Yeah, it'll be 6.
It'll be 6. Yeah,
they have options.
And then these 5 are staying.
Yeah,
these 5 are on the
team.
team.
And then a corner, I don't know if it's even fair to say it, but I feel like it just kind of feels like it would be Colin Wright as the 5th. I'm not saying he's going to be
very okay with putting Colin Wright.
I guess you did say you saw some things from Jamarcus Ingram.
But I will say I think he's more in competition at safety.
Okay.
In Indy, he worked at safety. He played safety during team. I don't think he's a corner anymore. They have him listed as a corner, but I think they view him as a safety.
Right. And so if you're going to say that, and it's also like, well, then Tremon Smith and Jalen Smith aren't primary boundary corners, then you almost have to keep Colin Wright. You almost have to. I think he was a 3-year. Was he a 3-year starter in college? Let me see. Let me go back real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm looking. I know it was at least a 2-year starter, but it was a 3-year starter at Stanford. On the boundary, has ball production. You almost have to keep him.
Yeah, so I think Tremon Smith maybe he's just gone then. I mean, I think that's fine. I'm fine with that. I think they just keep 4. Yeah, and I think they will.
Because you also trust Jalen Smith and you trust Reed and you trust Ramsey on special teams as well. Almost you want them to play special teams. You want to keep Huzzy, which obviously we're going to take Godrington off, whoever that is.
He's not staying.
Off of there. And I would not be mad if – I mean, I don't even know how many times they've done it necessarily. I don't pay attention too much to it. But I would like them to really, really try to play these athletic or – frankly, also kind of experienced rookies on special teams just to let them play, get their feet wet.
Yeah. Well, so when they drafted Wade Woodaz, he was 100% a guy that they view on special teams. That was something they talked about during the draft presser. So he will be there. Aiden Fisher had a good moment in special teams drills the other day where I don't remember who the back was, but he peanut punched somebody in a special teams drill.
Yeah.
And Frank Ross was very excited about that. And then I will say the one rookie that it works against him for making the roster heavily is Louis Bond. He is god awful on special teams.
There's no way he can be on special.
Yeah, and they've tried to play. They've given him some shots. He's terrible. He is awful. Yeah. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I like Louis Bond. I don't really think it's going to matter too much. I think he's made enough plays at receiver, but I just think it's funny because he is really bad. And I think that's why you keep Justin Watson, truthfully. I think that's why he should stay.
For sure.
Moving to safety. I think safety's kind of obvious. I think this is what they do. I think they keep MJ Stewart on PUP and they keep these 4. Yeah. Feels pretty easy.
Very easy. And then special teams, I guess.
Good Lord, these punters are terrible.
Or just go with Stonehouse.
I would say Stonehouse because I haven't seen Stonehouse enough to I think it's I'd rather have the bad that I don't know about than the bad I do know about. Yeah, that's genuinely how the competition has gone for them. So I don't know how many guys we have on roster.
Yeah, I was going to say how many players is that because the one player I would probably say that if we have 52 is just easily Tremon Smith.
Yeah, add him back. I think over
sometimes I think they may have actually had 5 edge rushers and it would be.
So we're at 55 right now. So we're 2 over. So one of the tight ends is going. So that's easy.
That's true.
So it's going to be 54. And then you're going to have a kind of a interesting discussion.
And then you probably would put British Brooks on practice squad and bring him up to play.
Yeah. He also is injured right now. So
he's definitely not making the 50.
I think Aaron Wilson said 3-week recovery period. Yeah, but you could kind of be weird with that because he broke his hand. So you could put him on PUP to start and just be just have an excuse to not keep him.
That's a great excuse to say we're going to play Stover at fullback 1 week maybe, and then I'm gonna go Stover in this case, and then we'll bring up British Brooks to play fullback if Stover really can't do it. If he seriously just struggles at fullback, then British Brooks is going to be brought up. So that's just the way I'm thinking about things.
Yeah, so I don't dislike this. I think this is solid. I will say so, and if British Brooks' injury is something that could hold him out for a little bit, Cade Stover chance to make the team absolutely increases because not even just from the fullback side, because special teams.
Yeah.
Because British Brooks is an A special teams.
Yeah.
So that helps. If British Brooks is someone that does miss time, it helps Justin Watson. It helps Cade Stover. It helps Dylan Horton because he's a good special teamer too. So it helps him make the team. It helps Aiden Fisher, who's a good special teamer. It would probably help Jake Hummel also because they view him as a good special teamer. Traymon Smith would also be helped in this case because he's a very good special teamer. Yeah. But I would think Colin Wright can do special team stuff. I haven't watched him too closely on special teams, but he feels like a guy that could do special team stuff. Yeah. So I think this is what I'm probably going to keep this kind of in mind. I'm just going to have this set up. Yeah, I'll save this to my Google Drive so we can kind of go through it maybe after some preseason games and see what we would change. Yeah. But this feels pretty good. It's going to be tough on offense because there are some cuts on offense that could be made. I do wonder if there's a conversation of if you cut Jake Andrews, could you get him on practice squad? Maybe. I don't know. I would lean no. Actually, I think someone would pick him up.
There's no way.
Yeah, and I think the same
injuries happen too, and then a team needs a backup center, and they're like,
yeah,
almost even a starter center.
I think Jake Andrews was okay enough last year to get an opportunity. So I would say no to that.
He is a fringe starter in the NFL, and everyone knows that. Not just because he started last year, because he was a good run blocker last year too. Every team will keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Because I also think Blake Fisher is someone that not necessarily that he's played well, but he's young and has good athletic tools and has had decent moments. So he's probably a guy that someone would pick up as well as a swing tackle or something like that. So I think this is good. I think this is a solid look.
I agree.
Couple of things that I would add to this. Would not be surprised if the punter week 1 is just not on the roster. That would not surprise me at all if they go pick up a new punter. Because I will tell you, I look up and so that they did the punting drills yesterday. I don't necessarily know if they did it today. I'm not sure. But yesterday, Jack Stonehouse was the punter, and boy, it was rough. The first punt was, I honest to God think it went 20 yards. It was so bad. I don't know. It was like Townsend, but significantly worse because it's dude, it's practice. You're not going to get hit. At least in a game, you're worried about, okay, we're going to get rushed. There's a rush, but it's also practice. You're not going to get drilled in practice. He punted the ball maybe 15 yards. The punter the returner is, the ball is over here. The punter lined up on the other side of the field. I don't know. It was awful.
Wow.
And then second punt was a 30-yard punt, 35 maybe. The returner is running in to go get the ball. And then after that he was better, but it just, I don't know. The hang time wasn't very good. He had one good punt, I'd say, one really good punt that was booted. He kicked it really well. And I haven't seen Kroger punt, but when they go through warm-ups before practice, it's pretty bad. Kroger looks bad. And he was bad with the Saints last year in a dome. So I don't necessarily think either of these guys are very good. But I would choose Stonehouse just because I don't know much about Stonehouse. We haven't seen him punt in a real game. So that I would just hope. Missed the beginning. How does CJ look? We weren't there, so we don't really know. But I did text my good friend Nico, who I know y'all probably all follow Nico. So it's not like I have to tell you who Nico is. But he had a good day. So awesome. Another good day for CJ. He's stacking good days. Man, I'm pessimistic with Brevin Jordan. He has to prove he can stay healthy. I like Brevin Jordan as a player. It's just hard to trust Brevin Jordan at this point. I just haven't seen him. I haven't seen him make plays in 3 years, basically. So it's tough. No doubt. Yes. I agree. Like Brevin Jordan, the player, but is Brevin Jordan the player still Brevin Jordan the player now? I don't know. He's had a pretty good camp though. I think he's made some plays. So he's also huge now. He's jacked. So I don't know. He's put on 20 pounds of muscle, I think. So he looks huge. But also don't think Hansen makes the cut. I've thought Hansen's not going to make the cut for 3 years, and he always does. So I've just kind of leaned on Hansen's going to make the team if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to add? I think that kind of wraps it up.
That is all.
Pretty good talk here we had. I'm sure we'll be back here for some of those preseason games. The games are on Thursday, so it's kind of weird. The first two games are both Thursday games. So probably be on here. I would assume probably maybe sometime during the weekend, something like that, maybe Saturday, something to kind of talk about it. Because we got to give it a little time so the film shows up, because NFL Pro actually added preseason filters now.
Oh, so thank goodness.
Which is awesome. So we'll be able to go through that. I would not expect the starters to play in the very first game, But we'll get to watch, I'm sure, Jalen Smith, Elijah Huzzy, the guys kind of Colin Wright, who I am very excited to watch Colin Wright play.
Yeah.
Lewis Bond, I'm excited to watch play. I just it's kind of a shame that their third quarterback is so bad, because I wish that we would get to watch Lewis Bond, but I think there's going to be very few opportunities for those guys to go make plays with Graham Mertz. But hopefully we get some Mills. I'm sure we will for a drive at least. But Marlon Klein's another guy to watch as well. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. So we appreciate everyone for tuning in. Should be plenty more content coming, obviously, with the season and everything kind of coming up.
Very excited.
I'm hoping to get Stresson's on here at some point. I know we've been talking about that. Nico's going to be on here again at some point coming up pretty soon with camp and everything. Obviously, me and Drew will be on here. Hopefully to get some other guests. Hopefully some more player interviews coming. If you haven't checked out my interview with Derek Graham, although Derek Graham got cut, so that kind of sucks. But check out that interview if you haven't.